Welcome to the Rob Call Bottom Up Show, sponsored by opednews.com, available on Pacifica Radio and Progressive Radio Network and iTunes and Google and SoundCloud and lots of other places. My guest for this show is Ben Berkowitz. He is the co-founder of SeeClickFix. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, Rob.
It's a pleasure. I found out about you from Micah Sipfrey, who, when I interviewed him, he's the curator of the Personal Democracy Forum. And I think that's the best place to find bottom-up stuff anywhere you're going to go. Best content for it. I call my show Bottom Up Show because I think we're transitioning from a top-down culture to a more bottom-up one, and I try to interview people with a take and who are working in the world from a bottom-up way. And boy, that's exactly what you're doing. Yeah,
it sure is. Absolutely.
So tell us about SeeClickFix. It's an app, and it is a Civic system that it works with municipalities. But you tell us what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. SeeClickFix is primarily a mobile application that connects citizens with local governments around things that are broken in the public space. There is also a web application, but the general use case is that as we're traveling around our cities, our neighborhoods, we see these things that are broken. And a lot of times we don't, think to try to get them resolved because we don't know how, or we assume that even if we know how, the system that we're going to report them into is not going to work. SeeClickFix seeks to solve that problem by making it easy for you to take a photo of the problem, publicly document it, so that your neighbors can see that the issue has been routed to City Hall. And then we also publish all of the kind of comments and feedback from the government as the issues being fixed. And so people report everything from potholes to streetlights that are out to illegal dumping to pedestrian or cycling safety concerns or automobile safety concerns, issues in parks, anything really that you might want to see improved in the public space as you're going about your day-to-day.
And what makes that different than somebody just calling up, like I'm in Chicago.
311 or something?
Yeah.
Sure. So in Chicago, people use SeeClickFix to actually connect into 311. The difference for the citizen as they're reporting the issue is that it's much quicker. You can report an issue on SeeClickFix in under 30 seconds. 311 phone call might take you 10 minutes, and that's just once you've connected. Additionally, you're going to have this transparent record of the request that is engaging your neighbors, as well as magnifying the feedback loop from the city government. So it's much more engaging from a citizen perspective. It's much more accountable from a government perspective. And on both ends, it's much more user-friendly.
You've got about, how many employees do you have now? Over 30, right? How many?
Over 30, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 33.
How do you monetize this? How do you pay for this?
Sure. We have over 300 mostly city and town clients who pay for the SeeClickFix request platform, which is a more advanced back end for the front end that citizens are used to using. So kind of all of the internal communication when an issue is assigned from one worker to another, the work orders that are created on the back of the request that you as a citizen are submitting, the service level agreements and the accountability internally that a department head might manage their department. Those are all part of the SeeClickFix request system. And that's something we sell as an annual recurring software license to governments. And we have cities that are, as big as Houston and towns that are under 10,000 in population, mostly in North America, though we do operate internationally.
Yeah, I saw you. Anywhere, people can do this anywhere, basically.
Absolutely.
Does the city have to sign up and subscribe to this program in order for SeeClickFix to work?
No, SeeClickFix exists everywhere. a citizen can document something and share it with their neighbors. A city government can receive alerts freely, email-based alerts based on a geography freely. The piece that the city signs up for and pays for is really the piece that allows them to feel comfortable making SeeClickFix the primary way that they get service requests digitally.
So you have about 300 cities, mostly in the U.S., who are subscribers to this paid program.
Right.
So I live just outside of Philly in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. You have anything there?
Sure. We definitely have clients just outside of Philly. I'm forgetting which ones offhand.
Burlington. I think I saw you have something in Burlington, which is not maybe.
Burlington. We have something I know in Burlington, Ontario, and Burlington, Vermont. Is there Burlington, Pennsylvania? I'm not sure.
There's a Burlington, New Jersey, about 20 minutes from me.
Okay.
The same one. Okay.
Yeah, New Jersey, I could think of a few offhand. Atlantic County Utility Authority, Jersey City. There's a bunch more that I'm forgetting. A lot of smaller towns.
So you don't have one. Do you have one for Philadelphia?
We don't. People use it in Philadelphia, but Philadelphia uses a different application to collect service requests.
Oh, so there are,
and it's similar to SeeClickFix.
So you have some competitors then?
We do. Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say in my township, I wanted them to start using it. What would I tell them, and why would they want to use SeeClickFix?
Sure. So we are the leading platform provider of mobile applications for service requests. We have a large network of government clients who can attest to not only the strength of the application, but the strength of our team that's supporting them and the application. We have been very successful at actually getting citizens to use the application in a constructive way. And, if you were going to talk to your town, which a lot of citizens have done, they've brought the application to the town and said, hey, we would like to use this to communicate with you. You might reach out to the city manager or the mayor or the selectman, someone who's leading city council, or you might go to a progressive person or forward-thinking person in who's managing one of the departments. Could it be Public Works or it could be the Parks Department? Those are all folks who would be the buyer of SeeClickFix. You could also go to someone like a CIO or the IT department.
And why would the municipality decide that they want to do it? Why would they sign up with SeeClickFix?
Yeah, we find that a lot of the cities that we work with sign up because they know that they have a communication challenge. They hear, on an individual basis, they'll hear, my issue was I reported this pothole, I called in this pothole to City Hall. It's been months, it hasn't been fixed. And then on the other end, the city has no way of really tracking that request. Additionally, the cities are hearing, either from a journalist or from city council, questions about how many of these issues are you fixing on a monthly basis? How many reports are you getting? And so many cities are finding themselves without that data. It's also obviously the cost of running a city is becoming more expensive. And so having eyeballs from engaged citizens in the field that can tell you where the priority things are that need to be resolved, as well as doing that in a cost-effective way that does not necessarily take someone stationed at a desk to, dedicated to resolving the issue. Those are just some of the reasons that cities are doing this. But it's also, at this point, it's also becoming a kind of it's moved from a nice to have to a need to have, and it's become the expectation of citizens that there is a digital and mobile way to connect with City Hall, and there's also this added expectation of transparency that comes with SeeClickFix, but does not come with all digital systems for communicating into City Hall. And the trend in that direction, I think, is really being driven by citizens who have used these platforms and have that expectation of an open line of communication with government.
So describe the process. What does it look like for somebody to actually report something? And what's the most common thing that people report?
Sure. The most common thing is the legal dumping. So, a pile of toys or a mattress left in the city park.
We just broke up.
Sure. So the
most common thing?
The most common thing that folks report would be illegal dumping. So an example of that would be a mattress left on the side of a street, or a pile of car tires left in a park. And if someone was going to report that mattress, the first thing they'd do is they'd take out their iPhone or their Android. They would open the SeeClickFix app, or they'd just take a photo of the issue and then open the SeeClickFix app. They would add that photo. With that photo comes the location data, or you can grab the location data from your GPS signal at the time. You select the request type, which is pre-populated by the city for that location. So in this case, we're going to select illegal dumping. There might be some follow-up questions that the city wants to know, like what type of material. In this case, it's a mattress. Are you reporting because they might, depending on what type of illegal dumping it is, the city might roll a different type of truck, right? Or they might be rolling the mattress truck, and there might be, they might want to filter and search for just illegal dumping that is mattresses. And then you'd hit submit, and an alert goes off by email and into the SeeClickFix request management system. Someone in City Hall would acknowledge it and say, thanks for reporting the illegal dumping. We typically take 10 days to resolve this issue, or some kind of message like that. And then the citizen gets an email back with that acknowledgement. The city is then going to work the issue, so it might get assigned to the person who drives the truck, who picks up the mattress. That person will get a notification. They're going to go out and resolve the issue. They might take a photo of the issue when they're in the field, or they might not as they resolve it. And then they're going to close out the issue, or the person who took the initial request in the city will close out the issue. And again, the citizen will receive an email as the issue is being fixed. Additionally, you might, during that timeline of issue open to issue resolution, you might get a number of citizens who are following along with the issue. And so they're also going to be getting notifications as the issue is being worked or resolved. And so you've really created this, kind of powerful one-to-many feedback loop from government to citizens that is directly engaging with the few citizens that really care about the issue based on opportunity, but more holistically is being displayed publicly. So you'll get passive viewers that are just looking at SeeClickFix, and it's this way of, which creates this way of empowering more people to just generally understand that the system is working.
So this kind of creates a community, because if a bunch of people are following, how do they follow it? How do they know that it's been reported? I mean, I'm thinking if I call up 311 and I report a problem, I'm never going to hear from them again, generally, am I?
That's right. 311 departments have gotten better about that. Certainly the ones that use SeeClickFix, because if you're in Detroit, as an example, and you call 311, or you call, they don't have 311 anymore, but you call a city phone number, maybe Malden, Massachusetts is a better example. You call Malden, Massachusetts 311, they're actually going to enter the information into SeeClickFix with your email address, and you have the option of receiving alerts. So even the traditional phone systems have kind of come up to speed with the transparency and engaging feedback loops that come with SeeClickFix. Yeah.
Now, how does it compare cost-wise for a city to use SeeClickFix versus just the input by phone?
Well, there's a lot of costs that come with phone input that don't come with a traditional SeeClickFix
So it costs
report,
less
meaning that
Click Fix.
much less. Yeah, I mean, if you have to pay operators to take all the calls, and you're using legacy software, that can be very expensive. I mean, the annual savings could be in the hundreds of thousands, depending on
Really?
the city. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Houston has some metric that SeeClickFix, I think, offsets at least a person and a half. So forget the software. Forget the software costs. We're offsetting salaries for call takers.
So how much does Houston save? You just said it could be
In the order of magnitude of at least $100,000 a year.
And how about for a smaller, let's say a city of 25,000?
A city of 25,000. I'm not sure they're going to save money out of the existing budget. What they're going to save from is having to add a person, or add a person in the future, because this is kind of the expectation from citizens. And it's a little harder to quantify the ROI in the average community, because it's all of these efficiencies, right? I mean, this is like a all-encompassing communications platform, right? So like, I think it's hard to quantify the fiscal return on investment when you have all of these small efficiencies being created everywhere, right?
So
everywhere within the system.
How do you close the deal on a municipality when you're invited in, or when it?
Right, sure. It's a great question.
What's the process? So let's say I live in a town in Bucks County.
Yeah.
And I want my town to have SeeClickFix. What do I do, and then what do you do?
Sure. So you would introduce us, hopefully, to the city manager. We would jump on a call with the city manager, and we would ask qualifying questions. So one of our solutions experts would jump on a call with the city manager, answer some qualifying questions like, how do you if a pothole comes into the city, how do you currently take that request? Then we would kind of track the flow of that request back to the resolution, exposing whether there was an opportunity for us to solve the problem in a better way, communications problem around service requests in a better way. And then, we kind of figure out the budget and the timing for them to be able to purchase SeeClickFix. We have a simple contract they would sign for an annual license. And once they've signed up, so like the average recurring license for SeeClickFix is about $10,000 a year. With that, there's no upfront cost, except for the license cost. And then once they have signed, we have a project manager who comes in, works with the city to kind of run through the processes that they want to bring online through SeeClickFix. And we'll set a launch date from there of when the mayor or the city council person or city manager is going to hold the application in their hand and say, this is the new way of communicating with City Hall. And then we work with them on an ongoing engagement strategy to bring citizens to the conversation through this platform.
Okay.
And that can be, from a timeline perspective, that can, it can take a couple of weeks for us to sign a new client on. It can take 6 months to a year. Some of it depends on the urgency in the city. Some of it depends on the timing around budget cycle. And then getting something launched, it can be very quick. We've launched cities in under 30 days, a number of them in under 30 days. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you recently posted on Medium a kind of an update on SeeClickFix, or I'm not sure how long ago you posted it, but it said at that point there'd been like 4 million reports of problems. What are you up to now?
Yeah, absolutely. That was posted pretty recently. I don't have the most recent stats on me, but I know that over 4 million issues have been fixed now on SeeClickFix.
That's incredible.
So yeah, it's really growing. So I would guess we're at about 4.5 million issues reported right now. I could figure that out pretty quickly while we're chatting here.
So
Um,
that's about, with 300 clients, that's about 14, 15,000, 16,000 per client. That's a lot.
yeah, absolutely. I'm a little light on the number. Or a little heavy on the number. It's 4,169. 4,169,655 was just reported a minute ago.
You got a tracker there that tracks them as they come in. That's great.
Yeah, I can just look at the database. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so you mentioned like a small town in Massachusetts. What was the one you said?
Well, I mentioned Malden. It's actually Malden's not super small. Malden's under 100,000, but it's over 50,000 in population. So this is like, that's like on the borderline of small city. Actually, it's either large, it's in large now.
So, but as an example, compared to Houston, I mean, or was it Houston or Dallas? Houston.
Totally. Yeah, Houston. Yeah, 2 million plus. Chicago's 3 million plus. I think Chicago's
so for Malden, how many incidents have been repaired there?
Oh, I don't know the total number of issues repaired in Malden. Could look at that also. Somewhere I'd be able to get you that. But in somewhere like New Haven, I know offhand there's probably there's got to be 20-30,000 issues reported here.
Over how long?
It's been a while in New Haven, 7-8 years. Let's see. Pulling up New Haven right now. So if we want to know just give you how many issues were fixed in the last year in New Haven. And we're just going to look. So we have 4 different statuses available, publicly available statuses. One is open, the next is acknowledged, then you have a closed status, and then closed issues become archived after 2 weeks if no one reopens them. Let's see. So last year in New Haven, there were 8,243 issues were fixed in New Haven last year, which was up from 7,097 the year before. So that's
how many were there altogether reported?
That's the year. Those are the ones that were fixed and reported in that year. And then in the total, let's see, total would be, last year there were over 12,000 reported.
So about 2/3 of them were reported
resolved in the same year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like give a score for each locality. So
we do, and we used to publish it more publicly. We're thinking of getting back to that because a number of our cities really appreciate the kind of friendly competitiveness that brings. It helps them motivate their team members. And I think if you go on, I'm trying to think where that is. We used to link to it off the homepage. I'm not sure where it is anymore, how you actually link to it.
Suggest website, but can you do it from the app as well?
It's not in the app, not the competitive piece, but on the
should be
on the web. Yeah. And I don't see, to be honest, I don't see how you get there anymore. So to track that down.
Yeah.
But we're definitely thinking about it. Doing it again.
When you talk about transparency and accountability, that's the number, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to be careful with high level numbers like that, though, because a lot of times they don't take into account the context of what's going on in the city. for instance, the time of year could have an effect on a city's ability to resolve something if there's snow on the ground or it's too hot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so you want to, we want to be careful to not publish data without qualifying metrics. But anyways, we are thinking about bringing that back in a more public view. We just got to prioritize it amongst all the things.
And so I just want to do a station ID. This is a Rob Call Bottom Up Show, sponsored by Op-Ed News, available on Pacifica and Progressive Radio Network and iTunes and Google Podcasts and SoundCloud and Stitcher. My guest is Ben Berkowitz. He is the co-founder of SeeClickFix.com, which is a really cool app that lets you take a picture of and report problems where you live that your local municipality or city can then fix and report as being fixed, so you'll get notified. So, Ben, if I report a mattress that was dumped on a road, and am I going to get an email when it's been fixed?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get an email when it's fixed. You'll get an email when it's acknowledged.
Now,
you get an email if they need more information from you.
So it's really it's a nice, easy way to have a much more, what's the word? It's like a glue. It's like there's glue.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's much more engaging because the feedback loops it's sticky.
It's sticky. That's the word I was looking for. It's
a
stickier way for me to be connected to the city and actually hear back. And I would think that makes people a lot happier. And
definitely.
It makes the city look a heck of a lot better because they're actually responding and people find out.
Right. I mean, you're touching on a term political researchers would call efficacy, right? Actually, another one of Mika Sifry's friends, Erhard Grafe at MIT Civic Media, has done some research through his PhD around the psychological impact of SeeClickFix on users, and he has found a strong correlation between increased efficacy or trust in the fact that something will get resolved, as well as empathy for city workers, understanding what they're up against in the behavioral patterns and the responses to surveys from SeeClickFix users. So.
Is there a political value to that?
Oh, absolutely. There's a political value. Yes, 100%. I have to tell you, I care much more about the bureaucratic value. I mean, there's only so many politicians. There's lots.
Well, I'll throw in. I know in Chicago, if the snow doesn't get removed properly, the mayor could lose his job.
Totally.
And I'm surprised snow removal isn't a big one.
No, snow removal is a big one. It's just seasonal, and there's only snow in so many parts of the country. So, snow removal is a huge one. And you'll see spikes in the data during snowstorms in the Northeast for sure. There's huge political value for the mayor. There's also, I think, huge cultural value for the bureaucrats, for the folks who manage all of the DPW workers and the folks who remove the snow. Department of Public Works.
And cultural value, what is that?
Yeah, in the sense that this is a group of people who historically have been underappreciated by the citizens and are only mentioned when things go wrong. And this is a platform that enables people to talk about them when things go right.
So when a worker
which is most of the time.
When a worker removes a mattress, does the person who reported it see a picture of the worker, or do you tie it with
not the worker typically? I mean, that could happen. I think
that would be cool. Yeah. I mean, talk about the culture and what have you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think when you get down to individuals and especially faces of people on the web, there's a whole nother level of privacy and expectations that not everyone is going to want to be opted into. A big piece of SeeClickFix actually is enabling anonymity of those who report the issues, because it doesn't really matter if Rob or Ben reports the issue. What matters is that the issue has all the information that is necessary for the city worker to complete. And whether you or I reported it shouldn't matter. And in fact, that piece of the politics should be completely removed entirely.
So what percentage are anonymous reports?
I do not know the answer to that currently, and it would take me a little longer than finding the.
But it is an issue, and it's one that people can decide that if they don't want to let the city know, they can just report it.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You have over 30 employees. What are they all doing?
Good question. 15 of them are on the product and engineering team. So they're building right now. The iOS team, the iPhone team, is building a new app that's going to be launched in March. It's got a bunch of new features. Actually, some of the features already exist on Android. One of those features is the ability for a resident to see, as they are reporting an issue, that their neighbor might have already reported that exact same issue so that they can follow along with it. It's a way of helping to reduce duplication, create more efficiencies. Also, this particular application is modernized from a design perspective. Last time we did a major overhaul of the iOS app was, I think, 5 years ago, so it's been a really long time. So there's a big update there. We have a web team working on new types of reports, performance-based reports for city officials. We have a team working on the SeeClickFix work product, which is the work order component that sits on the back of the request management system. It's a newer product of SeeClickFix. Then we have folks that are just working on resolving requests for existing clients. We have a small sales and marketing team that's doing outreach to new folks, and then the other humans who make any company run from finance to operations, customer success.
Great. So I want to get back to if I want to get it for where I live.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we gotta get some intros to Bucks County. I think that would be great.
Yeah. So I basically have to do the digging and find out who the.
Well, we can work on it together. I mean, it's we have Julia who is responsible for Pennsylvania and bringing in new clients in Pennsylvania. Might already have contacts there in Bucks County. That's something we'd have to look into. And then we could see, kind of how far she's gotten in the conversation. Do you know folks in City Hall or in county government there? That can always be helpful if there's a personal relationship.
I personally don't, but I think I know other people who do, and But what I'm trying to get a feel so that the listeners and the viewers can understand is
absolutely.
What's the first step? My napkin notepad here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first step is probably sending SeeClickFix.com to your local official who you know if you know someone, and then mentioning that you think that this particular application is a way of solving a particular problem that you've been having and communicating with the city, or that you've heard others having. Right now it's pothole season, and actually it's a good time for folks to buy SeeClickFix. There's a discount. I can't remember exactly what it is, but we have a discount for cities who want to buy SeeClickFix in the next 30 days, because this is the time of year when folks typically are realizing that they need SeeClickFix, but it's not necessarily a time of year when budgets don't get approved till June. So we try to make it possible for them to procure the tool quickly and easily now, so they can respond to something that is going on all over the country right now, or anywhere really that there's frost and temperature changes, which is what creates potholes.
I'm trying to think this through in my own head. I don't think that I have ever called in a problem anywhere that I've lived in my life.
Why do you think that is?
because it's not a convenient thing to do. I mean, you know, I'm driving along, I see something, and you know, I keep on driving. And a lot of it, I would think an awful lot of it happens in the car. I mean, so
yeah, on the commute, I think that's right. If you're biking, walking, driving,
if you're walking or biking, it's a lot easier to stop. If you're driving, not so easy.
It is, yeah. And one thing we've done is that we've made it possible that for you to just take the photo and then grab. It's easy to report later on because we grab the location data from the photo itself. So all you'd have to know is it's a pothole, or remember that it's a pothole later on, and the image tells you that.
Okay, so I can stop, pull over, stop, or if I'm stopped at a light, I can do it. And
yep, you're in traffic or whatever, just take out the phone, take a photo, and report it later.
Okay, and so, but I would think that the first step would be to do that report, not to contact the mayor or anything.
That is the way many folks do it. You're right. I think either way can work. We've seen both. You could report that issue and then say, you know, you'll see whether the mayor got an email or not. And if they didn't, you could email them personally and say, hey, I tried out this tool for reporting to you. Here's a record of the issue. You can sign up to follow the issue or issues like it in your area. But I'd love for you to also chat with SeeClickFix, because this is the tool that a large number of cities and counties are using in the country to handle their communication.
Yep. Okay, so I take a picture, I report it, I contact the mayor, I say, hey, we'd really like to have this, and then I contact you guys?
Yeah, and on the SeeClickFix.com website, there is a sign up for demo, or be exact, it's up at the top. Let's see what it says. It says, yeah, at the top right, it says demo. There's an orange button. And so that's where you go to info for governments, which is right there on the homepage. Either one will get you to a human quickly. Also on that info for governments, there's a really nice video with the mayor of St. Petersburg, Florida, kind of talking about the value of the platform.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that can be really helpful. You know, maybe just share the video also.
And I see that on the website there are a bunch of other videos on that guide people on how to get up and running with it, how to get people to use it, and what have you.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe on the website we should just be more deliberate about encouraging people to share the video with their, city leaders. Wouldn't that be a more comfortable way, maybe of I don't know. What do you think?
I think on the app. I mean, if they're reporting on the app, it should be on the app, and it maybe even have. I mean, I'm a website developer too. I developed .com, a news and opinion site, and I would. I mean, just off the top of my head, I would have the app have a way so that if they're reporting it and that you don't have that location integrated into your system, have them have an option to say, would you like us to contact your person, or would you like the information on who to contact so that you can contact them and then connect us with them?
Yeah, definitely.
Database of the people who you want to contact that you could have integrated with your system. That way it would make it easy for people to do it, because I think that's the big thing. I mean, I've never done it in my life, and I think it's because it's a pain in the neck. You know, I had to dig it up, and I just found out about 311. I didn't even know about it. And shame on me. But, you know, if you've got that app and you've got it and you just click send, and then it asks, you want us to help you connect this? Your town doesn't have one?
Yeah.
Bingo. I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to hear more about how this is bottom up. I'd like your thoughts. You know, to me, bottom up is a way of seeing the world. It's a way
absolutely
of seeing the world, and it's your way of relating to all the different systems in your life: the culture, the people, the nature, the governments. And to me, bottom up is about cooperation and interdependence and sharing,
Definitely.
transparency. And so how do you see SeeClickFix as making the world more bottom up?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, inherently, you have opened up your feedback as a city to more people through a democratizing technology that enables conversations to be public and more easily accessible through a thing that most people these days have in their pockets. Um, Additionally, you've made a commitment through doing that some of the decisions you make in City Hall are not going to be top down, right? They're going to be decided by the people who ask for help. So they're going to be requests as opposed to planned work. And, lastly, I'd just say that the piece that you were just mentioning around you bringing this to your city, you taking an action and reporting before the city asks you to take an action and report, is part of that pull strategy that we leveraged in the beginning so that SeeClickFix could get adoption more quickly in a world where maybe the city wouldn't be so inclined to adopt something like this, especially 10 years ago, when opaque reporting processes were the norm. I send I call, I leave a voicemail. No one else knows that I left that voicemail, not just other citizens, but probably other even folks inside of City Hall. All of that communication was isolated as this one-to-one experience between you, Rob, the citizen, and they, the
person on the other end of the phone, really.
Right. And you can hear the semantics I use there, the us and them, that's deliberate because that type of communication is very much polarizing. And it creates tension in a way that is not civically constructive. And in a world where we're seeing lots of civically destructive communication happening on the internet, we really need solid, constructive places where we can communicate with each other and build trust.
And this is the Rob Call Bottom Up Show, sponsored by opednews.com, available on Pacifica Radio, Progressive Radio Network, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on SoundCloud, on Google Podcasts. Speaking with Ben Berkowitz, who's the co-founder of SeeClickFix.com, which is also an app that is used in over 300 cities and can be used if it's not officially signed up with through a city. Now, you mentioned that, I got the impression that around a report of a problem, there can a community can develop.
Absolutely.
So talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's a good transition. And I realize we've only talked about government officials as fixers at this point. One of the key concepts of SeeClickFix is that as a resident, you can be part of the resolution. As a citizen, you can be part of the resolution of an issue just by documenting it. You can also be part of the resolution by actually fixing it yourself. And while that's not the primary way that things get fixed, because you're not going to fix a pothole, despite some of the funny news articles I get from friends and users showing me where citizens have fixed potholes in quirky ways.
What do they fill them with?
People have spray painted obscene things around them to attract attention to them. That seems to be very effective, at least at getting an AP story. I saw one this weekend where they were filling them with cereal. I've seen one where they fill potholes with like mosaic tiles, or we'll do like gardening in the potholes. So there's been all sorts of potholes have become a medium for art. Probably make an exhibit in MoMA someday.
Yeah.
But we've also seen residents go out and actually resolve the issues as well, right? So you could sign up to receive email alerts on a park that you spend time in, and you could, just like traditional volunteering where you have neighbors that look out as a parks group, they can leverage the platform to resolve issues themselves. That's something that's been intrinsic or has been in the platform since day one. The ability for you to follow along with a specific location as a citizen and take action. One of the things we added a few years into the platform is something called a point of interest notification, and that has been the primary way to date that neighbors engage with each other proactively around issues. And so what that means is that if you leave your house and you go to report something in Bucks County and one of your neighbors nearby, like very nearby within a couple blocks, also reports something, there or has reported something there previously, they're going to get an email alert saying, hey, your neighbor Rob called just, if you use your name and aren't anonymous, or it would say an anonymous user of SeeClickFix just reported this pothole. If you're interested in following along with the resolution, you can do that here. And it's a way of, really interconnecting neighbors around the things that they care about. It also, I think,
can I tell other neighbors about it? Can I share?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And after you document an issue, there's an encouraging message to share it.
And do you have tools so that people can share it on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn? Those
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Are they used much?
And Nextdoor as well. They are used quite a bit. Nextdoor and Facebook, they're used a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Nextdoor?
Nextdoor is a neighborhood social network. It's a slimmer version or a more narrow version of Facebook, effectively, for neighbors.
Yeah. I signed up for one, and I basically started getting real estate pitches.
I don't use it myself, and I think the success of the platform, of that particular platform, like any platform, really has to do with the kind of community of super users involved, because there is not, unlike SeeClickFix, there is not one central authority, responsible for making sure that the transactions on the platform, or the bulk of the transactions on the platform, lead to somewhere constructive.
So now, as I mentioned, I learned about SeeClickFix and you from Micah Sifri, the curator of Personal Democracy Forum, which is, I think, the best bottom-up conference.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And he talks a lot about civic tech.
Yes.
So where do you fit into the world of civic tech? And could you give me a bigger picture of civic tech and how it's changing, and how its evolution is affecting your relationship with municipalities?
Yeah, we were civic tech before there was a hashtag for it. We are definitely one of the primary examples of civic tech. Civic tech, I think, has been most narrowly or concisely defined by Omidyar Network.
One of your initial funders, I understand.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to butcher the definition, but it is technology that enables citizen engagement. And so you might qualify a transit application as civic tech. You might qualify, so that could include Uber. There's some question about, like, does Uber fit into civic tech? I think Omidyar would say yes. Airbnb potentially is civic technology, because you're solving a housing problem, which in a lot of ways has been solved by public institutions previously. But then there's applications that are more directly working with government to solve the problem. An example could be like OpenCounter, which is a tool that allows you to quickly figure out if a business you are planning would work in a specific zone or location, and helps you kind of go through the permitting process.
Wow.
You could look at like Recollect, which is a trash notification service. So there's been all sorts of like kind of sliver applications built around the municipal processes and their kind of shortcomings in the 21st century, and has worked to, those applications have worked to make life simpler and more engaging for us as citizens.
Has SeeClickFix.com or the app Saved any lives?
Has it saved any lives? I don't know. I know that it has been used during disasters for people to ask for help, to ask for medicine from neighbors because they're diabetic, to say that I'm trapped in a flood. I would hope that when people are reporting things like the last thing I mentioned, that they're also calling 911. It's a question of whether the peer-to-peer piece has been the thing that actually was the difference between a life being saved or not. I can tell you that I know it was responsible for a birth in a hospital as opposed to somewhere else. It's an anecdote we always use as a woman who leveraged the platform to connect to in a city where the city is not using SeeClickFix. Someone was able to connect a pregnant woman to the head of the fire department, who happened to be on a payloader. Payloader is one of these big yellow bucket trucks, for folks who don't know, that get used in really big snowstorms. I think this was during Nemo, which is a big snowstorm in the Northeast. And she used it to connect to that individual, who was able to plow the street so that they could get to the hospital where she delivered a baby, which there was a photo posted of the baby maybe 4 hours later. So yeah, absolutely. That there have been some pretty dramatic resolutions on the platform, but they're edge cases. They're good, they're great stories, and it's wonderful that it happens. But of course, not the primary use case. Though I will say that I have strong feelings that like an engaged civic community, a constructively engaged civic community, solving mundane day-to-day problems like potholes can and most definitely has led to much more substantial civic engagement, or has had much more substantial effects in times of disaster, and having people connected and prepared to communicate constructively during those times can be very helpful.
So just to recapitulate, what you just said is that by using this technology, you kind of wake people up so that they are more aware of the resources, more willing and able to engage with the municipality, so that they're going to be more likely to help the municipality find out what's going on and enable the municipality to do its job in a more efficient and effective way.
100%. 100%. Yep. Well said. So
tell me a little bit more about working with disasters, with floods and hurricanes and things like that.
Sure. The most recent two natural disasters that occurred in areas where we have where SeeClickFix has a large user base, and governments that are responding. One was Irma, which hit much of southwest Florida. There we work with Sarasota County and St. Petersburg, Florida, and Pinellas County, and a number of others. And they really use the platform to engage residents in advance of the storm, because St. Petersburg and Sarasota and Pinellas have been using SeeClickFix for a while now. They know that there are things that they can engage the population in advance of the storm around to make the cleanup of the storm better. So that might be like let us know, help us clear storm drains, or let us know where there's a storm drain that is not cleared.
But how would they reach out? Do they have a record of who is already contacted, and they can contact them whether it's anonymous or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a tool called City Notices, and they can send an email to residents saying, through that city notice, saying, hey, Hurricane Irma is coming, please take these actions, right? Yeah, so they can be proactive about it. So you might have a resident responding back with a service request that says, like, this particular construction site is not locked down, right? Or the hatches are not battened down on this particular construction site, right? The sheets of plywood could become projectiles. This is an accident waiting to happen once the hurricane strikes. During Harvey,
wow. That's an incredible resource right there. Wow.
Totally. 100%. Yeah. absolutely. Harvey was the other big one recently, and we work with most of the cities in Texas that were affected by Harvey. So there, it was quite scary watching, the photos come in from inside people's homes where the water was, quickly above chest height.
We're using SeeClickFix to report their own homes flooding?
Definitely. Yeah. And then afterwards, I mean, hundreds, thousands of photos of the debris. And there were photos of dead livestock floating in the backyard. I mean, that was an intense flood.
Yeah. So you made me think of something else. So I live in town in Bucks County.
Yep.
And it's a municipality, but you just said that you have counties that you work with.
We do. One of the places where I think SeeClickFix is solving another layer or another problem is in anywhere where you have a county and a town within that county, and then you have the county also responsible for the unincorporated areas, right? Because
my county has a bunch of municipalities. Right.
And so we work really successfully with in communities where the counties and the towns have a pretty good relationship, but there needs to be a clear way of delineating between the accountability around specific services. Maybe your trash is picked up by your county, or the county fixes potholes on this road, but over on this road, it's the town. The platform helps. SeeClickFix helps delineate between those two things. It makes it really easy for counties and cities to work more closely together.
The county could buy SeeClickFix, and then it could be used by multiple municipalities.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
That would drastically cut the cost for.
It can. It depends on how the city's using it, but yeah, absolutely.
So maybe I need to talk to the county commissioner then.
I think that'd be great. Yeah, absolutely. And
I do know her. So.
We probably I bet we work with 20 or 30 counties at this point.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. That's just rough guess. I know we work with a ton down south.
So what's the future?
And in Maryland, I guess close to you, in Maryland, we work with Howard County, work with Harford County. There's another one I'm forgetting, but I'm trying to think if I think we do work with a couple counties in Pennsylvania, and I'm just trying to remember which ones they are. It's not Bucks, though.
Okay. So what's the future of SeeClickFix?
Yeah, continuing to refine the citizen interfaces, primarily the mobile applications, to make them more engaging, more constructive, deliver more accurate information to cities more quickly, while also building out the back end of the platform to create more accountability and efficiency internally.
Okay. I think I'm running out of questions, and I've got some time left here. Give us a couple anecdotes of examples of how SeeClickFix has made a difference for somebody, for a town.
Yeah. I've already given you a few. I'm trying to.
What are some oddball reports that have come in?
Oddball reports that have come in. One that I saw recently that I think is really interesting is most of my anecdotes are going to be from New Haven, but there occasionally people will report illegal camping outdoors, which is one that I keep an eye on, because we don't want people reporting individuals. But if you're reporting like a campsite that has created a public space issue, meaning there's like illegal dumping or it's unhealthy or something of that nature, we want to make sure that there's a public conversation around that. And there's a gentleman here in New Haven who actually responded to one of those reports of illegal camping and illegal dumping, who actually lives in one of the tents. And his response, I think, was really, really validated the need for a public conversation, a constructive and empathetic public conversation, because he said something to the effect of, I've actually been camping here for years. This new level of trash is coming from a new group of people who have moved into the area. The trash is actually affecting me also. If you want to come and sit down with me and get a coffee, I'd love to chat, because most people won't actually do that with me because of my appearance, right? And so for me, that last piece about, like, this is the reason he's using the platform, is because based on the way he thinks he appears to the rest of the world, he doesn't feel comfortable communicating offline, or he does feel comfortable communicating offline. He doesn't think that other people feel comfortable with him. And so a lot of people talk about how, and it's well documented, the web has become a place that can actually stifle conversation, and real life conversation specifically. I think we've had a lot of examples where real life conversation has actually started because of the web, and because of that common interest around a particular piece of shared infrastructure or public space.
That's nice. It makes me think a little bit of Occupy.
Yeah.
But also of homeless people. Are homeless people reported by this sometimes?
Yes, but if you're reporting an individual, that is not what the application is for, at least not publicly.
So what happens when somebody does that?
It can be flagged as inappropriate by another user, which could be a government official or could be you, the citizen. And then the content is moderated, and we take a look at it. If it's against our terms of service, we'll actually remove it from the platform.
So you don't want people reporting homeless people?
No, absolutely not. It's not illegal to be homeless in the United States. It is illegal to aggressively panhandle. If you are reporting aggressive panhandling, we suggest that policing issues actually not be made public on SeeClickFix. There's a way to have private issues that's determined by the government, meaning it does create that one-to-one relationship. And that would be our recommendation for something where you're reporting an illegal non-emergency activity like aggressive panhandling.
So we got another minute or two left. Anything you want to wrap up with?
Oh, I don't think so, except for, of course I do. I would love it if people would download the application, try it in their hometown, their city, and introduce us to city government, because the real way that this thing grows that we've built and is through relationships with existing citizens and their governments, and folks putting their hand up and saying, I like my hometown, I want to stay in my hometown, I want it to work better, and let's make this happen together as cities and city officials and citizens. Great.
And this is the Rob Call Bottom Up Show. You've been listening to Ben Berkowitz of SeeClickFix.com. Check it out, download the app, and check out more of the Bottom Up Show on iTunes at opednews.com/podcasts, and lots of other places. Thanks so much. Great to have you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Rob.